How are you gonna hit me? How? Hello, gals, blokes, and all other folks. My name is Mortius, and today I am here with the one and only Tegan Early, taking a look at some of her solo music. How are you doing this fine and beautiful morning?
Oh, so good. We've been having such a joyous morning, you and I, even just getting set up. So I can't wait to dig in with you. I love your work. This has been a long time coming. We're basically best pals now. I just am so excited to be here. This is like making my month, year.
To be honest, guys, this is like the third time we've had to record this intro for tech things, but what I said last time and still mean is that like just the mutual joy that comes from collaborations like this just is the bread and butter and why I do what I do. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for expressing your joy towards my work as I'm about to express my joy towards yours. I'm gonna be going into this pretty blind, pretty much except for like that one clip from Mother that I've seen on your TikTok, like that one snippet that you really like to use. I've heard that one a couple times. And really, like, pretty much since we scheduled this, anytime I see one, I'm like, oh, I want to give you the watch hours, but I can't listen to this. I have to save it for the blind reaction. So, really, I have not heard much of this at all. So I'm really intrigued. I don't even know really what I'm getting into, besides the little bit of insight I got from Peter's interview with you about what the genre is like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna be a roller coaster. You buckle up.
I'm sure I'm not ready.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's a lot of really beautiful, like, transformation and rebirth. And so I think we can just go on that journey together today. We're happy. We're thriving, and it's gonna be a good time.
Yes, it will be. So I'm really, really excited to check this out. And if you are checking this out, one thing we kind of talked about is that I'm really excited to kind of use this video and this opportunity to hopefully pull some of the epic audience that already loves myself for my reactions and Tegan for Athena into her solo music. So if you are here because you were like, hey, that's Mortius and Athena in a thumbnail, I'm gonna click on this video, but haven't actually checked out her solo music, this is your time to do so. I don't know if Tegan has a preference. She can share if she wants. I don't have a preference, but either pause this video right now, go listen to Mother, and then come back for the reaction, or feel free to watch the reaction, experience it for the first time through us, but if you do, you have to promise that you go support them for real afterwards, even though you've already heard it again. Because, and say it with me everybody, reactions are not a market substitute. Never ever watch my content instead of the original. So make sure no matter whether you listen to hers first or my reaction first, that you are still going and supporting. Tegan, where is the best place for them to give that support?
Anywhere you can stream music is really cool. I don't have a preference, but I'm an Apple Music girly personally, which I get a lot of. I get made fun of a lot for.
I'll immediately take the flack off of you by saying that I'm still a Pandora user.
Oh.
So you've got the Spotify versus Apple Music people, and then I'm just sitting here down here with my vaguely curated playlist that I've had since 2008. Like, hello. So I'll take the flack off of you for that.
Iconic. My grandfather just got a Pandora, and I was like, oh, so he's like, how do I use it? How do I do skips? How do I make a playlist? I'm like, I wish I could help you. I really do. I have no idea how Pandora works.
Well, hey, now you have a connection, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. There, I'll call you up. You can be his tech support.
So make sure you support Tegan wherever you stream music, Spotify, Apple Music, all of those things, under TE/MO is how you are going to find that music. And before we kind of get started, I already know the answer to this because I had the privilege of being at your live last night, but I thought it was a really cool story. So before we hop on into the music, can you explain Timo? Because I think it's a really cool story.
Absolutely, yeah. I love answering this question. So, Timo came from a childhood nickname of mine because my full name is Tegan Maureen, and so my mom, my dad, my nana, my sister, all of them growing up called me either TT or T or Timo or TT Momo. Like there were so many variations of this childhood nickname that
Yeah.
included T, included Mo. So that has like obviously a special place in my heart because that feels like the core of who I am. Like my inner child is Timo. But also I've studied Spanish for a really long time. I'm really interested in languages in general. And I'm also interested in dichotomies in the way we kind of exist on this world. And so temo in Spanish means I fear. And obviously te amo, which a lot more people know, means I love you. And so I think that fear and love are kind of the two opposing forces that make up the roots of everything that we experience, right? So if you think about it, you either do something out of a great love for that thing, or you do something out of fear. And there's a deep ancient part of you that I think can tell the difference between those things. You know whether you are doing something, because like anxiety is rooted in fear, right? Insecurity is rooted in fear. Like all of these things that we kind of experience on a day-to-day basis, most of them, if you really run down to it, are rooted in this base reaction of fear. But what is the opposite to that? I don't think the opposite is bravery. I think the opposite is love.
And I was thinking kind of in reverse. I was like, most people would say love and hate are opposites, but you're kind of taking a different but similar approach to it, which I think is fascinating. But at the same time, and especially in our modern political world, I would say this is more relevant than ever, not to get into that too much, but the idea, like we were talking about, like, normally you would say love and hate are the reverse, but we're saying love and fear are reverse. But what is most hate if not just actually fear and misunderstanding? So are they not really just the same thing?
Yeah, because that's what like, you take anything that is kind of creates negativity in our world, and if you really, really like spray it down with a hose on the sidewalk, like fear will be what's at the core of that. Because you are either like driven by it. You can call it love, you can call it peace, you can call it's that thing inside. We all are born with it. We are all kind of like wanting to get back to whatever that thing is. Like that is what drives so much of what we do, and especially the things that are positive and like actually fulfilling in the long term for us as humans. And what is the opposite of that? What is the opposing force that is constantly dragging us away from that? And I think that fear at its core is what that is. So so it's got like a personal connection for me on the like childhood, like inner child front, but also like it sums up pretty much my main theory about life, which is why it was the perfect name.
That's truly incredible, and I wish we could just talk about that forever, but this is already like an 8-minute intro, which is pushing it for the attention spans of a YouTube audience, so I think we do need to hop on into the reactions. But honestly, I know like that name sounds like such an extension of yourself, and I know that your music is also an extension of yourself, so honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if we end up kind of circling back around to that same topic. So with that being said, without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop on into the first song of this sort of, what did you call it, movement, right?
Yeah, it's like a big symphonic movement almost. But
then we are hopping into the first piece of this movement, which is called a lullaby. Let's get into it. If you can't tell by the screen here, we actually over on Patreon did an exclusive reaction where I did the inevitable and showed Tegan the Divine Sugar Mama animatic. So if you want to check that out, feel free to check it out on Patreon. That is available at as low as the Trinity tier. I just figured I would mention that since it's what's already on screen before we actually hop on into Lullaby. Oh, goodness.
It was one of the funniest moments of my life. So I highly encourage you to share that with me. This moment and this beautiful treasured thing that was created in a moment of just utter pure reactive.
Oh goodness. Let's do Lullaby before I have to think about what I showed you anymore. Alright, here we go. I'm so excited. I'm so curious.
Okay, I'm excited.
When You Arrive by Timo. Okay.
I'm gonna be watching you the whole time.
What is the distortion step? What kind of Bioshock vibes are these? This is terrifying. This is so cool, but I was not expecting those vibes from the start. That's
Always spooky.
It's
People always say I got spookier as it went along, but I've been spooky the whole time. And JP Warner, who produced almost this entire album for me, and it co-wrote some of it with me, and it's just like an all-around superstar Renaissance man. Literally is such a enabler when it comes to my spooky. He'll be like, "Oh, and guess what? Then we could do." Like,
I awesome. Love that. I love that so much. I want to hear that start again. Wait. No. Horrifying. I can hardly breathe each time I dream of your brown eyes. Been preparing while I wait for our sacred meeting day when you come home. I've always known I'd be Whoa, no, wrong video. Oh God. Whoa.
Yeah. And I'm glad you picked up on the distortion because that becomes important later.
No, yeah, 100%. I love it felt I could be completely reaching for the symbolism. I always encourage artists to correct me or anything like that when we're doing collabs like this. Was that supposed to almost feel like it was like distant? Because to me, like that kind of distortion feels like a call that isn't quite making it through. Because there is like obviously there's some horror emulation there, but I feel like, here's the thing, I feel like in horror, as a genre, you don't want to lose words. You don't want to lose consonants. When they're distorting it, you still can hear every word. We were losing consonants and half of words there. That was not just it didn't feel like this thing is here and wrong. That's what distortion normally feels like. Normally distortion in horror is this thing is here and it's distorted because it's wrong. This felt like it can't get through. Am I on the whoo?
The track. Well, and the idea, we played a lot in this album, and you'll hear it as we go through a lot of these. We played with the ideas of like dreams versus reality, because that's like a big theme on this album, is like what is real and what is a desire, what is a dream, what is a hallucination, even at times. So the distortion effect on this one was really meant to kind of establish this as like, we're in dreamland. Like this is a desire. This is like a want that we have. We're kind of establishing the thesis / like the core of this piece, which is like we're preparing for an eventual baby to arrive, and it's not happening yet, but because it's just a dream now. But it is something that like is forever in this character of Timo's / the mother's heart.
Interesting.
So that was a very astute observation. I love how you said that. I'm like, oh, okay, like taking notes that I will credit later on like how to describe people.
I mean, yeah, no, it totally makes sense to me. I have one more question, but I feel like it's going to come up better later, so I'm actually not going to do it quite yet. So now we'd be looking at Mother 1, right? Cool.
And it goes straight into it if you're listening to it on streaming. Yeah.
Okay. And this is the only full music video we're looking at as part of this movement, right? So far. Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I've got another one that I'm shooting actually like next week.
Very exciting.
But this is the only one for now.
Cool. Sounds good.
Hi. The doctor's ready for you. You can follow me back.
You have no idea
Sorry, what was that?
I forgot that the intro was in the beginning of this,
Oh.
and so we could have just done away with that one. But then you got to see the cute lyric video.
Yeah,
so
no,
there
it
we
was
go.
cool. It was really cool. I like having the doubling. Just so you like, as a heads up for you guys, and just kind of a reminder, I think actually, unfortunately, the video is going to kind of be doing the same thing. So you might need to signal me if you want to talk in the middle of the video. But in general, just so you guys know, the way we're recording and we weren't quite able to set up the audio perfectly is that unfortunately the guest of honor, the amazing one and only Tegan, is being completely deprioritized by my audio system and will end up at the bottom of the list if I am talking or if the music is playing. So if she's ever talking and it doesn't come through, I'm so sorry. I'll make sure to catch it and ask her to repeat herself, but we're gonna do our best with it. I'm sorry, can we just talk about how good that acting was? Specifically, this whole thing is heart-wrenching, but it was that all too familiar, like, that you're walking, you see someone, and that, like, that quick, just like, and then, like, right, that was so perfectly done, and so, like, that was really, really good. You go ahead and kind of I know we very briefly talked about kind of what you had gone through that inspired this. So you can kind of pick when makes the most sense to kind of share that. But I do want to kind of hop into that as much as you are comfortable and able to as we do this.
Absolutely. I'm very open about talking about it because the whole reason I released this EP was so that I'm not the only one who's ever experienced something like this. It felt like I was while I was going through it, but the longer I was in it, the more I realized that there were just countless people who had, whether it was in terms of like fertility and like women's healthcare, or whether it's like gender affirming healthcare or whatever that may be, like the healthcare system, particularly in the United States, is not particularly supportive of certain groups. I'll say it that way to be very diplomatic. So like, I'm very open to talking about it because that is like why I'm here, and like what this whole thing is about is bringing attention to some of that. So I was on contract with a theater company down in Kansas, and while the show was a blast and I loved the cast and everything that went along with that, I had a very scary like health moment while I was down there. And because, we were doing 9 shows a week, there wasn't a ton of time to get the health support that I needed.
Yeah.
And it culminated in this kind of climactic moment where I had a day, fortunately it was a day off from the show. And I was having this like internal bleeding, and it wouldn't stop. And so I ended up having to go to the emergency room, where I was examined and like went through various tests. At first they asked me if I was pregnant, which would not with the timelines have been possible at the time, but they were like, stranger things have happened. Maybe you were pregnant the whole time and you just didn't know. You just lost your baby. Like, and
isn't that a great thing to just drop like that?
You just say so carelessly. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the worst.
And so I took like 3 pregnancy tests while I was there, and because they were like, all of this points to miscarriage, so like that's probably what this was. So I lived for several hours thinking I had miscarried, which was traumatic in of itself.
Yes.
And then only to have that rescinded when the doctor came in and was like, oh, okay, so we don't know what's causing the bleeding yet. It wasn't a miscarriage because you're not pregnant. However, from these scans, we are seeing all these other things that are wrong with you that mean that you will never have children of your own. So what a relief, right? Like, there you go. That's fine. And again, like, the way it was presented to me was really, really problematic. which I was then later told when I eventually was able to go home. This was like 2 months after, like 2 months later, I got this diagnosis. So I lived with this for 2 months. And then I got to go home and see a doctor who has been working with me since I was born. Basically, I think she delivered me. And she was like, he should never have said that to you. He was right about this condition, this condition, this condition, and this condition, one of which is endometriosis, which has been known to make things more difficult in the fertility realm, if that is something that you are eventually interested in doing. But it's not like for sure.
It's not
so
an
eventually,
end all be all.
exactly. Eventually, the diagnosis was kind of reversed in that sense, or at least like it's still going to be complicated, a lot more complicated than I anticipated it would be, but it's not like it wasn't like doomsday,
Yeah.
like the doctor had delivered and originally down in Kansas. And so I'm someone who I have always, always, always known that I was meant to be a parent. Like ever since I was a little kid, I've had that kind of maternal energy. I was a babysitter, I was a nanny. Like I've just always known. And like obviously there are multiple forms that could take, but I think up until that point, I had this very childish idea or dream in my head of what that was going to look like. That was then just ripped away from me so abruptly. And the fallout from that was really significant and impacted me emotionally and impacted me mentally and even then physically, because like I wasn't taking care of myself for a while after that because I was just so shell shocked by that news.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was one of the darker periods of my life. And I had so much inside of me that I didn't know what to do with, that all of a sudden, for the first time in my life, I started writing music. And so that's where all
Wow.
of this came. It's like, it felt like I didn't think I could write songs before this point. Like I don't play any instruments proficiently enough where like I can compose. And so I was always like, leave that to Jay, leave that to JP, leave that to all these incredible like musicians. Like who am I to be writing anything? Like it's just not, like I write poetry, that's it. And I started writing poetry and like journaling about all of this. And I wrote this 5-page like thing that was just a dump of all of these emotions and things that I was processing at the time that then I sent to JP, who I had started kind of talking about like, oh, what would a collaboration between us look like? Thinking maybe I'll sing the songs or something like that. And I said, hi, I don't know what this is. I don't even know if this is going to be something that I can release publicly for any reason, but I know that I need to do this. And I know that this is the form that this needs to take. Like something inside of me is burning right now. And like the smoke needs to be released. JP, who to this day is one of my best friends, in addition to being such a treasured collaborator of mine, right away, like 5 minutes passed, and he was like, yep, done. Here's this piano loop. Why don't you write over that? And I will never stop being grateful for that and for the journey that that's taken us on. So that's where Mother One came from. Mother One was actually the first thing I wrote.
Okay.
And then everything else kind of came out of that as I was processing all of those emotions in the following months. Okay. So
I love that context. I'm so curious how it's going to manifest like that. Oh, let's find out. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
And now, of course, the I've always known with the context you just shared. It's heartbreaking.
Doctor mumbles, he seems bored. Guess my worst fear is just a chore. Deep breath in, he probes inside. Who's the brave face for? Who's by my side?
Who's the brave face for? Who's by my side? The just putting on a brave face that only matters to you. Oh my God. I can absolutely see I almost made the comment earlier when you mentioned it. You were like, all I do is write poetry. And I'm like, well, good songwriting is poetry. And now I'm here and I'm like, yep, that's poetry right there.
Well, and that was one of the first lines I wrote for this, actually, which is interesting that you caught it so
Yes.
immediately, because that was one of the first lines. It literally flashed into my head while I was laying on the table, because I was thinking, like, I was staring up at the fluorescence, and the table was so cold, and I was so, for the first time ever, I was so utterly by myself. Like, normally, um, wow, I did not expect to get this emotional about
It's
it, but
okay.
it's, it's always
That's
there,
important.
that journal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're amazing. Thank you. Um, I was in Kansas. I was in a place that I didn't know and that I'd never been before. I didn't have any family there. Normally I've always grown up really close to my family, and so like they're still in the area where I can see them regularly, and so normally my family's there to support me. My partner was also on contract somewhere else, and so like he couldn't be like no, so I was literally so utterly by myself, and the one person who I'd grown to really like trust enough with the details of this situation was one of my co-stars in the show with me, Kayla, who was another young woman who was around my age, and we lived together.
Oh, nice.
But I asked, I didn't know how long I was going to be gone at this appointment, so I asked her to stay with my dog, who was with me for the time. And she was like, "Are you sure? Like, I can come with you?" And like, I was so grateful that she would even offer that. Like, it just shows like how powerful sisterhood is. So this was around Christmas. This was literally 3 days before Christmas that this happened, which is another like crazy detail of this. I woke up, I put on this sweater that my parents had sent me for Christmas. That was my dog, in a little Santa. It was like a personalized sweater with like my dog. And then I like went to go start getting ready for the day, and I saw that like the bleeding had not stopped, and so I was like, I gotta go do this. Showed up at the hospital by myself in my little dog Christmas sweater, which like there's an Easter egg in here where I wanted to wear the same clothes that I wore to my actual appointment, but my incredible co-director and co-producer Isaac White, who like basically realized this entire dream for me of this music video, was like, I think a Christmas sweater would be too distracting, but can you wear something else? And I luckily have multiple shirts with my dog's face on it because I'm an insane person. And so I literally, I was like, oh, I'll grab one of the other dog shirts that I have, and I put that on instead. So that's a little, no one knows that Easter egg, but I know that Easter egg.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of person that would be.
Oh yeah, no. Oh my god, that's so cute.
I don't know what kind of person would ever dress their dog up in their content creation outfit and then put it on a shirt. That would be crazy. What kind of psycho? But no, that totally makes sense. And yeah, that line definitely stood out to me at first. So thank you for sharing.
Of course.
Unless I'm not alone.
Actually, I need the lead into that.
Who's by my side? Unless I'm not alone. And that's just why I came. If someone made a home of me, then I believe I owe them a name. So hey God, if you're up there, guess this proves that you're a man. Don't think that you would send this if you really understand. On the outside, made me soft.
Oh, hold on. I should have mentioned this ahead of time because I forgot that SyncWatch doesn't allow captions, which is just the most annoying aspect of this website. But what was the...
So hey God, if you're up there, guess this proves that you're a man.
I got that.
Don't think that you would send this if you really...
Don't think that you what?
Would send this. If
Send
you really
this. Gotcha. That was the single word I didn't catch. Don't think that you would something if you did. Okay.
I'm not known for my diction. Epic fans, you know what I'm talking about. I wish that part of classical training had stuck with me, but alas, it okay.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, enlighten me.
really understand. On the outside made me soft, a place for all to rest their heads. But inside you made me empty heart, my belly full of lead. 'Cause somehow motherhood's the only thing I've known for sure. So what is left if mother's not for sure anymore? Please, doctor, cut me open, scoop out all that's in the way. Oh, doctor, will you hollow me, make room for them to stay? He seems scared to voice the news, as if I haven't guessed for years. God just built you backwards, girl, but otherwise you're in the clear.
What an incredible way to phrase exactly what you had shared. That, like, the way of it's just like, well, there's this devastating news, but at least not this. And it's like that doesn't mean anything right now. And like the absence of an answer being presented as an answer is something that I don't like, because in this specific case, you did get an answer. But
Yes.
for the way that I'm personally connecting with this as well, which is such the great way of music, is like you can, even if you don't connect to all of it, you can still connect to some of the pieces of it and find your own story within them. But that aspect of like kind of what we said about like how do I say this? The idea of like healthcare providers, like you go in and you're like, hey, I have this issue, and they're like, hey, it might be this, and then they come back and they're like, good news, it's not this, and you're like, but what is it? And they're like, that'll be $600. Like, I have my own significant healthcare issues, and as I mentioned kind of off camera, I am extraordinarily aware of my own privilege. So like I know that I am lucky enough to not be a category that would not be taken seriously. So if my experience was the way it was, dear God, I can't even imagine what it's like to be someone who is inherently deprioritized, because even mine sucked. Like I am not even diminishing my own. I am saying I know the value of what I have gone through. I know where it stands, and I know that there are millions of people who go through that and
that's what's so, I mean, there are a lot of really great doctors and a lot of really great nurses and a lot of really great healthcare workers in that industry. But the industry itself, as industries tend to get, unfortunately, when they're on a massive scale like this and when they have such a monopoly. I mean, what is more of a monopoly than everyone has health problems? Everyone has things that they're going to need help with that they don't have the expertise or the resources to fix in themselves. And like that creates the ultimate monopoly. And so as happens with when you have a Goliath of a monopoly like that, there's going to be an immense amount of gaslighting. There's going to be an immense amount of, I know best, so you shut up. You know, there's going to be all of this, I don't think you should diminish your experience at all, because even though there are certain groups that I think face more, and I'm even of a privileged group, I'm a white woman, you know, I'm a white cis woman.
Yeah.
So that, but even so, my experience was the way it was. Your experience was the way it was. So I don't think it's us that's the problem. I think there's someone advantage of the entirety of humanity, and like that is an incredibly frustrating thing to me. And it's part of why I was like, I do not pull the punches when I talk about my experience with mother. Like everyone is welcome to know how terrible it was, because I want everyone to feel seen in that sense, because we're all in this together, aren't we?
And like I said, even though I was like, I pulled half a connection out of the story, it still created that connection. So that just shows how powerful and important that is. So Thank you.
Thank you.
Aren't you relieved he's
Whoa, that transition. Excuse me. Paused at the wrong
You're
time.
in the clear?
Who directed this?
Isaac White.
Isaac
Okay.
White King.
Unbelievable.
King status.
Literal king. Literal, like, and here's the thing. Isaac White is an incredible Chicago-based, like, film artist, producer, like, extraordinaire. Like, just an incredible, consummate artist.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with him on this, like, very, very small film called Madam X. He basically, I met him on the set of another film, and he's like, hey, I'm doing this short film called Madam X. It's based off of this painting. I need a redheaded actress. Like, would you be interested? And I was like, yes, that sounds great. I love art. Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we worked together, and it was like, we had zero budget, we had zero time, and it was literally just him running around with a camera. And so, like, honestly, I'm going to be transparent. I was standing there and I was like, I love this concept. Don't know how it's going to look, because, like, I can't imagine that, like,
This is going to turn into something.
Create this, like, gorgeous thing. Mortius, when I say the finished product was so stunning and so ethereal, and so I was like, I have never felt more powerful than, like, watching myself perform in that film.
And what an important feeling that is.
And it's all because of this man's vision. And so the minute I was like, I'm doing a Mother One music video, I called Isaac first, and I'm like, hey, I need you. Please do this. I don't have a ton of budget. I have some budget, but I don't think I can do this without you. And fortunately, he was like, signed on. Yes. And how, like, this is because of him. We won an award at a New York Film Festival because of him. Like, he's just that good. So I cannot sing his praises enough.
Good. It seems like it.
You're in the clear. Aren't you relieved, he says.
Ooh.
Now you're free another day. So flippant, as if mother weren't the first word I ever learned to say. So hey God, if you're up there, guess this proves that you're a man. Don't think that you'd have made me this if you really understand. On the outside, I am soft, a place for all to rest their heads. But inside you made me empty, hard, my belly full of lead. 'Cause somehow motherhood's the only thing I've known for sure. So what is left if mother's not for sure anymore? Please, mother.
How are you gonna hit me? How are you gonna hit me with the most stunning belt possible and then immediately drop me with what's left if mother's not? Like, you literally just with your vocal and you just grabbed me by the shoulders, lifted me into the sky, and then threw me into a pit. Like, what just... That was the biggest. I know you warned me of a roller coaster, but I didn't think the up and down would happen that fast. That was stunning vocals. You should be so proud of yourself. But that line, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I need...
Man, don't think that you'd have made me this if you really understand. On the outside, I am soft, a place for all to rest their heads. But inside you made me empty, hard, my belly full of lead. 'Cause somehow motherhood's the only thing I've known for sure. So what is left if mother's not for sure anymore? Please, mother, cut me open to scoop out all that's in the way. Oh, mother, will you hollow me, make room for that to stay? 'Cause how can I just let it go?
But before I keep going, I need to ask, because I think it's the... I feel like we're so in tune that I've picked up everything. That's the only symbolism that I haven't immediately understood. Why switch from doctor to mother? why has Mother cut me open now? What's
So
the thought process?
That's an awesome question, and I'm really glad that you picked up on that. It's the moment of you're literally willing to do anything for this not to be the case. You will ask anyone. So you will ask for the surgery, even if it rips your body apart. You will ask God, even if you don't believe in them. You will ask the Mother Earth, like, to bury you and like make you be reborn as something else. Like, you'll literally do anything and ask anyone.
Because in this case, Mother is this ethereal concept that no longer feels grounded in reality. So it's going from asking someone who's right in front of you to begging the concept of what you just lost.
Yep.
I'm so glad I asked that question. That's an incredible answer.
No one's ever asked that question, especially in like a recorded setting. So
oh my gosh. Oh, this might be more than 2 videos. This might be more than 2 videos. This might need to split. I'm looking at the time. This might need to be more than 2 videos, I'm afraid. I don't know if we're gonna only split this in 2.
I'm with you all the way.
I appreciate that so much. Let's just keep it going and see where we land.
That's a shirt, by the way.
Oh, cool.
That's too damn young to have to come to terms with what this means. I'll fight.
I don't think I knew that. I don't actually know if I know it's rude to ask, but how old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay.
And I will say I was 24 when this happened. So it did still happen like a couple years ago, but the rhyme was right there. So and what's so funny about this is I have this lyric, and now people who write like bios for me on the internet assume that I'm 1 year younger than I actually am. Which I'm like, oh no, what did I start?
Oh, that's really funny, actually. That's very, very funny, actually. That's...
Sorry. I was being a bad songwriter. I couldn't come up with something better. So
You're like, I don't want to rhyme with 4.
Yeah, I'm
so
like,
funny.
I literally, this came up because I've been consumed by guilt since I first saw that people were like, oh, she was born in 1999. I'm like, no, I didn't. I've been living a lie. I'm old.
Oh, that's awesome. And honestly, it makes sense that we're such on the same page, especially with like modern healthcare and things like that, because we're closer in age than I realized. Like that's really cool. I'm a 96.
Chaotic time. I have no idea what's going on ever. Love it. We're doing great.
Are we doing great? We're doing something.
Finally grow up now that
Wait, no. I need to get I was having too much joy to hop back into this verse. I need to let's take it back.
'Cause how can I just let it go? I'm only 23. That's too damn young to have to come to terms with what this means. I'll finally grow up now that I'm choking on the dust. And to survive, I'll shrug it off. I'll smile, I'll adjust. I'll tuck the dream of you away forever or for now. You were just make-believe, a fairy tale anyhow. This sense of unborn purpose, it belongs upon the shelf. But now that you're gone, I find that I am just a child myself.
Oh, that one got to me. Oh, that one got to me. Oh, hey man. Hey man. Hold on.
Unborn purpose, it belongs upon the shelf. But now that you're gone, I find that I am just a child myself.
Yeah, that sucks. That's really hard.
That's what I think was so devastating about this experience is like it wasn't a dream that it was a dream that Big Tegan had,
I mean,
but like
yeah.
it's mostly a dream that little Tegan had since she realized like what she was here for and like what she wanted to be and what she
Yes.
was, and like dreams are so much harder to let go of when they were born in that very small, very vulnerable place.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that there's not an adult version of that dream that's out there that just takes a little bit more adjusting, but like you got to comfort the kid first, and the kid was who was really hurting, and they made it aftermath of this, I think. So
That makes
that one
sense. I mean, that desire, like you said, that desire is so interwoven into yourself, but that just, because yeah, I have my own stories. I have that some I've talked about, some I've not talked about, but just that, like, thank you, that just that expression of like it's too much for someone who's still just a kid. Like it's I fully resonate with that, as you could see. I definitely resonate with that, and what a incredible lyric from a writing perspective, and also just delivery girl. Oh my god. You're so, like I really can't share it enough, but like your vocals are so good. Like
Thank you.
I'm focusing a lot on the lyrics and things like that because this is a very story driven thing. But like it's very story driven, so I want to focus on the story and lyrics more than the performance. And B, I literally just spent 2 hours last week ranting about your vocals because Casper and I went through the remastered Troy and Cyclops saga. So I have how amazing you are vocally is already well-tread territory for the channel. So that's why I'm focusing more on the song itself, but I cannot express enough how amazing you are.
Yeah, that had to be the big whale, that line.
100%.
JP was originally like, what if you go back down for it? I'm like, no.
You're like, yeah, what if? Anyways.
Yes.
And then the drop out of music here. Oh, that's. Ooh.
I may not be able to have kids.
Yes, but
You're still young.
exactly. You can just enjoy your life with no consequences.
So hang on if you're up there. Please take away this lot. I know I haven't earned it, but they still deserve a shot on the outside.
How we doing? How we
What?
doing?
Hold on. What was that wording?
This lot. I know I haven't earned it, but they still deserve a shot on
Tegan.
Well, and that was one of the most like pressing feelings that I experienced like through the midst of all of this. Sorry, my roommate, are.
No, you're so fine.
I just want to make this. I don't mean to interrupt, but that was one of the most like overwhelming feelings. It was like I was like, I don't even necessarily care about this for my sake, but like, there's people who won't exist because of this. Like, I was obviously mourning for a version of myself that I felt like was impacted by this news, but I was also mourning for these people that I already loved so much that aren't in the world yet, but like that,
Wow.
may not get to exist because of that. And so like, I was just, it was a lot going through my brain.
Incredible. That's probably the because A, not a woman, and B, I don't personally have a lot of like that parental instinct just in my own kind of life, which I've never really talked about on camera before, but that is interesting because I feel like that's the first line in this that like I don't feel, I don't understand, but it was still communicated so well that it gave me such a feel like I felt in that moment something that I don't feel as a person, which is incredible and says so much about what you are able to achieve with this. And I can't even imagine that line for someone who does feel that.
Oh, I really appreciate you here, like you saying that. That really means the world to me. You have no idea. Like, because that's why we're doing this. Thank you.
I'm also, as a complete aside, I'm going to absolutely use you to win an argument a little bit with your permission, because I'm pretty sure you are closer in age to Casper than you are to me, but he insists on the stupid Gen Z heart that I hate. And so every time you make the millennial heart, I'm just like, vindication!
Well, and you want to know what's embarrassing? I genuinely don't know that I know. Like, Mercy tried to teach me this. Like, everyone has tried to teach me the Gen Z
you
heart.
can't say that, because if Merxy does the Gen Z heart, then that means Casper wins, because we love Merxy.
We do. But I like, look how sad this looks when I try and do it. And I'm like shaking while I'm like, I don't know how to distort my hands into this thing.
I had to learn because Casper and I, it's actually really cute. Casper and I have developed like the middle ground. Like, that's what Casper and I do in our videos, because it's both of them. So I've had to learn how to like contort it. It's very silly. But cool. Well, good to know. We're evened out. I have Athena on my side. He has Murchie. We end up evening out, but I'll have to send this clip to him.
I love
The
that.
outside, I will carry on, keep breathing, raise my head, but inside I'm slowly dying from my belly full of lead.
Oh!
This murder was the only thing I've ever known for sure. So what is left of me if I can't be a mother anymore? Please, someone cut me open to scoop out all that's in the way. Oh, mother, you have hollowed me, make room for me to stay. Oh, mother, God, can you hear me? Oh, mother, can you hear me, God? Mother, can you hear me? Mother, can you hear me, God?
Wow. Wow. I don't have any words besides that one.
Okay.
But holy cow. Thank you for sharing that with the world. I cannot even imagine the resonance that will create for some people in such an important way. And here's the thing that's so important about this is, as long as the people listening are open, it's a win-win, because there were parts of this that I knew, and there were parts of this that I can never know. The parts of this I knew made me feel less alone, and the parts that I didn't know gave me like, I have never in my life heard someone describe the grief for someone that could never be. Never. In my nearly 3 decades of existence, have never heard someone express that. Through you and your music, understand a human experience that I have never and might not have otherwise. So like, the first half of this song connected with something that I have struggled with for many years, my own now chronic issues due to mishandled healthcare. And then the second half, like the first half of the song connected to something that I know and hurts so much every day. And then the second half of that song introduced me to a hurt that people feel that I was never aware of. And like, you achieved both of those things in 7 minutes, Tegan.
No, and that was a true, I know I sound like a broken record saying this, but that's why I did this.
Yeah.
And that's why I put this, is because I knew that there are people who were going to be able to relate exactly to my experience. There were going to be people who could relate to that experience, but worse. There were people who were not going to be able to relate to that experience at all in that sense, but have their own health struggles or their own like struggles with mental health or whatever that is. Like anyone who has ever been told like you're not experiencing your own body or your own feelings correctly is going to relate to that aspect of this song. Like, and for those, like, I've heard songs about, like, quick trigger warning before I say this, like, I've heard songs about miscarriage, I've heard songs about infant loss, I've heard songs about, like, all of these other experiences that women have regarding their, like, reproductive systems and things like that. I had never heard anyone talk about, in music at least, like, infertility.
Wow.
And so I was like, okay, if that is a story that doesn't exist out there right now, then I've got to be, if I have that story to tell, then I'm going to be the one to write it and put it out, because like people who experience that deserve to have a song that they can turn to in those moments. And so like it was such a labor of love, this whole EP, but especially this song for that sense, because I was scared as all to get out to put this out, because I was like, it's not a typical genre, it's not a typical like sound, it's so sensitive. Everyone was telling me it's too niche, it's too niche, it's too niche, and I was like, yeah, but if even one person in that niche this means something to them, why would I not make it public? Why would I not put it? I don't care about views, I don't care about making money off of this, I just care about making that one person feel less alone, you know? So like 1000% that is what drove this whole thing and drove me to keep writing, because I was originally like, okay, got all that out of my system.
There you go.
Now we're done, right? No.
We are definitely going to continue this in another video. So thank you guys so very much for being here for this. This is going to be my weekly uploads on Wednesday until we're done with it. So I'm right now kind of doing mental math and thinking it's going to be 3 videos, but we will see. Basically, we're going to start here. Exactly, Mother Month. Mother Month fully. So genuinely, if you made it all the way through this, thank you so much. If you found connection, please share that in the comments. Share your story. My comments are always an open space. I read all the comments I get, and I know that Tegan feels the same way. So again, my content's not a market substitute, even if you just experienced it through this. First of all, how could you say you experienced the whole thing when we stretched it out that much and paused that many times? But also, still make sure you go support Tegan. And we will see you, if you are on Patreon, we'll see you in like 5 minutes. And if you are on YouTube, we will see you in a week. Appreciate you all so very much. And as always, gals, blokes, and all other folks, I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Love it. Bye, guys.